Welcome back to Bible Quizzes. Today we got a quiz for you guys on 1 Samuel, so let's get started. Round 1, true or false? Each question is worth 1 point. Question 1, Elkanah had 2 wives. True. 1 Samuel 1:1-2. There was a man named Elkanah who lived in Ramah in the region of Zuph in the hill country of Ephraim. He was the son of Jeroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph of Ephraim. Elkanah had 2 wives, Hannah and Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah did not. 2. Samuel was called by God while he was sleeping in the tabernacle. True. 1 Samuel 3:3-4. As Samuel was sleeping in the tabernacle near the ark of God, suddenly the Lord called out, "Samuel." "Yes," Samuel replied. "What is it?" 3. King Saul's offering was welcomed by God before a battle because he waited 7 days as Samuel instructed. False. 1 Samuel 13:8-14. Saul waited there 7 days for Samuel, as Samuel had instructed him earlier, but Samuel still didn't come, so Saul then performed the burnt offering himself. Samuel arrived. "You have done a foolish thing," Samuel exclaimed. 4. David was from the tribe of Benjamin. False. 1 Samuel 17:12. Now David was the son of a man named Jesse, the Ephrathite, from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. 5. Samuel's mother Hannah sang a song of praise when she brought Samuel to Eli. True. 1 Samuel 2:1. Then Hannah prayed, "My heart rejoices in the Lord. The Lord has made me strong. Now I have an answer for my enemies. I rejoice because you rescued me." 6. Abigail was Nabal's daughter. False. 1 Samuel 25:3. His name was Nabal, and his wife Abigail was a sensible and beautiful woman, but Nabal, a descendant of Caleb, was crude and mean in all his dealings. 7. The Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant after defeating the Israelites in battle. True. 1 Samuel 4:10-11. So the Philistines fought desperately, and Israel was defeated again. The slaughter was great. 30,000 Israelite soldiers died that day. The survivors turned and fled to their tents. The Ark of God was captured, and Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were killed. 8. After defeating Goliath, David used Goliath's own sword to behead him. True. 1 Samuel 17:50-51. So David tramped over the Philistine with only a sling and stone, for he had no sword. Then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath. David used it to kill him and cut off his head. 9. Ahimelech the priest gave David the sword of Goliath when David fled from Saul. True. 1 Samuel 21:9. The priest replied, "The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, is here. It is wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you want it, take it. There's no sword here but that one." David said, "There's none like it. Give it to me." 10. David showed mercy to Saul by cutting off a corner of his robe and later regretted it. True. 1 Samuel 24:4-5. So David crept up unnoticed and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe, but then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. 11. Jonathan warned David about his father Saul's plot to kill him by shooting arrows as a signal. True. 1 Samuel 20:20-22. In the morning, Jonathan went out to the field for his meeting with David. He had a small boy with him. Then he shouted to the boy, "Go find the arrows I'm shooting." As the boy ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. 12. God instructed Samuel to go to Jesse of Bethlehem because he had chosen a king among Jesse's sons. True. 1 Samuel 16:1. Now the Lord said to Samuel, "You have mourned long enough for Saul. I have rejected him as a king of Israel. So fill your flask with olive oil and go to Bethlehem. Find a man named Jesse who lives there, for I have selected one of his sons to be my king." 13. Saul offered sacrifices to God after Samuel delayed coming to Gilgal, and Samuel commended Saul for his religious devotion. False. 1 Samuel 13:13-14. Samuel said to Saul, "You have done a foolish thing. Now your kingdom must end, for the Lord has sought out a man after his own heart." 14. Michal, Saul's daughter, helped David escape from Saul by letting him down through a window. True. 1 Samuel 19:12. So Michal let David down through a window, and he fled and escaped. 15. David had only one opportunity to kill Saul, but did not take it because he respected the Lord's anointing. False. David had multiple opportunities but did not take them. 1 Samuel 24:4-6. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this to my lord the king. I shouldn't attack the Lord's anointed one, for the Lord himself has chosen him." 16. When Hannah prayed for a child, she promised to dedicate him to the Lord's service for life. True. 1 Samuel 1:11. And she made this vow, "O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he can be dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." 17. Saul was commanded by God to attack the Amalekites and spare King Agag, but kill the rest. False. 1 Samuel 15:3. Now go and completely destroy the entire Amalekite nation, men, women, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys. 18. The prophet Nathan is the one who anointed David as king over Israel. False. 1 Samuel 16:13. So as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the flask of olive oil he had brought and anointed David with the oil, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. 19. The sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were righteous men who respected the offerings made to the Lord. False. 1 Samuel 2:12. Now the sons of Eli were scoundrels who had no respect for the Lord or for their duties as priests. 20. Goliath challenged the Israelites twice a day for 40 days before David fought him. True. 1 Samuel 17:16. For 40 days, every morning and evening, the Philistine champion strided in front of the Israelite army. Round 2. Multiple choice. Every question is worth 2 points. 21. To whom did God reveal that Saul would no longer be king? Samuel, David, Jonathan, or the people of Israel? Samuel. 1 Samuel 15:28. And Samuel said to him, "The Lord has torn the kingdom of Israel from you today and has given it to someone else, one who is better than you." 22. Who killed Goliath? Saul, David, Jonathan, or Eli? David, 1 Samuel 17:50. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. 23. Whose fields did David and his men protect while running from Saul? Saul's, Nabal's, Jesse's, or Ahimelech's? Nabal's, 1 Samuel 25:15. These men have been very good to us, and we never suffered any harm from them. Nothing was stolen from us the whole time they were with us. 24. Which animal did David say he had struck down while defending his father's sheep? A lion and bear, wolf and leopard, lion and tiger, or bear and wolf? Lion and bear, 1 Samuel 17:34-36. But David persisted. I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. 25. What did Saul throw at David trying to pin him to the wall? A sword, spear, javelin, or axe? Spear, 1 Samuel 18:11. And though he pretended to be fine, he was actually filled with fear and jealousy of David. So one day Saul suddenly hurled his spear at David, intending to pin him to the wall, but David escaped him twice. 26. Who was the first king of Israel? David, Samuel, Saul, or Solomon? Saul, 1 Samuel 10:1. Then Samuel took a flask of olive oil and poured it over Saul's head. He kissed Saul and said, I'm doing this because the Lord has appointed you to be the ruler over Israel, his special possession. 27. What was David doing when Samuel came to anoint him as king? Tending the sheep, playing the harp, fighting Philistines, or working fields? Tending sheep, 1 Samuel 16:11. Then Samuel asked, Are these all the sons you have? There is still the youngest, Jesse replied, but he's out in the field watching the sheep and goats. 28. Which town was the Ark of the Covenant located in before David moved it to Jerusalem? Shiloh, Bethel, Hebron, or Kiriath Jearim? Kiriath Jearim, 1 Samuel 7:1-2. So the men of Kiriath Jearim came to get the ark of the Lord. They took it to the hillside home of Abinadab and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of the Lord. 29. How did God first speak to Samuel? A dream, strong wind, calling his name, or form of a man? By calling his name, 1 Samuel 3:4. Suddenly the Lord called out, Samuel. Yes, Samuel replied, What is it? 30. What did Saul's daughter Michal use to trick the men sent by Saul to capture David? Decoy dressed as David, a woven net, image in the bed and goat's hair, or hidden trapdoor? Image in the bed and goat's hair. 1 Samuel 19:16. When the troops came to arrest David, they found the idol in the bed with a pillow of goat's hair at its head. 31. Which priest gave David the holy bread to eat when he was hungry? Eli, Ahimelech, Abiathar, or Zadok? Ahimelech, 1 Samuel 21:6. Since there was no other food available, the priest gave him the holy bread, the bread of the presence that was placed before the Lord in the tabernacle. It had just been replaced that day with fresh bread. 32. For what reason did Israel demand a king? Lead them in war? Be like other nations? Samuel was old? Or all of the above? All of the above. 1 Samuel 8:5 then said to him, You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have. 33. Whom did Saul turn to for advice when God stopped answering him? A prophet, wise man, witch, or his generals? A witch. 1 Samuel 28:7. Saul then said to his advisors, Find a woman who is a medium, so I can go and ask her what to do. His advisors replied, There's a medium at Endor. 34. What happened to the Philistine god Dagon when the Ark of the Covenant was placed in his temple? Dagon fell and broke into pieces, Dagon was set on fire, hidden by the Philistines, or nothing. He remained in his place. Dagon fell and broke into pieces. 1 Samuel 5:4. But the next morning the same thing happened. Dagon had fallen face down before the ark of the Lord again. This time his head and hands had broken off, and were lying on the threshold, only the trunk of his body was left intact. 35. Which tribe of Israel was King Saul from? Judah, Benjamin, Ephraim, or Manasseh? Benjamin. 1 Samuel 9:21. Saul replied, But I'm the only from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel, and my family is the least important of all the families of the tribe. What did Jonathan give David to show his friendship and support? His robe, weapons, plot of land, a crown, or a horse? His robe and weapons. 1 Samuel 18:4. Jonathan took off the robe he was wearing and gave it to David, along with his tunic and even his sword, his bow, and his belt. 37. How did Saul die? He was killed by the Philistines in battle, fell on his own sword, assassinated by his own men, or died of old age. He fell on his sword. 1 Samuel 31:4. Saul said to his armor bearer, Draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through it and abuse me. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it, so Saul took his own sword and fell on it. 38. Why did God reject Saul as king over Israel? He failed to kill King Agag of the Amalekites, or he offered a sacrifice without waiting for Samuel, consulted a witch for guidance, or both A and B are correct. Both A and B are correct. 1 Samuel 13:13-14, offering sacrifice, and 1 Samuel 15:9-23, not following God's command with the Amalekites. 39. Who killed Goliath? David, Saul, Jonathan, or Samuel? David. 1 Samuel 17:50. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, with a sword in his hand, and he struck down Goliath and killed him. 40. What did David take from Goliath after defeating him? Shield, armor, sword, or spear? Sword. 1 Samuel 17:51. David ran and stood over him. He took hold of the Philistine's sword and drew it from the sheath. After he killed him, he cut off his head with the sword. 41. How did David express his grief upon hearing of Saul and Jonathan's death? By tearing his clothes, writing a song, fasting 7 days, or all the above? Writing a song. 1 Samuel 18:17. David took up his lament concerning Saul and his son Jonathan. 42. Whom did David spare in the cave at En-Gadi? King Saul, Nabal, Ahimelech, or Doeg the Edomite? King Saul, 1 Samuel 24, 1-7. When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, "Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi." Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of all of Israel and went to seek David and his men upon the rocks of wild goats. And he came to the sheepfolds on the way, where there was a cave, and Saul went to relieve Saul. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave, and the men of David said to him, "Here is the day of which the Lord said to you, Behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you." Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. 43. Who was Nabal's wife who later became David's wife? Abigail, Ahinoam, Michal, or Bathsheba? Abigail, 1 Samuel 25:39. When David heard that Nabal was dead, he said, "Praise be to the Lord, who has upheld my cause against Nabal for treating me with contempt. He has kept his servant from doing wrong and has brought Nabal's wrongdoing down on his own head." Then David sent word to Abigail, asking her to become his wife. 44. Who cursed David as he fled from Absalom? Joab, Ittai the Gittite, Shimei, or Ziba? Shimei, 2 Samuel 16, 5-13. As King David approached Bahurim, a man from the same clan as Saul's family came out from there. His name was Shimei son of Gera, and he cursed as he came out. 45. Which descendant of Saul was David constantly kind to? Jonathan, Ishbosheth, Mephibosheth, or Abinadab? Mephibosheth, 2 Samuel 9, 1-7. David asked, "Is there anyone still left in the house of Saul whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" "Don't be afraid," David said to him, "for I will surely show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan. I will restore to you all the land that belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will always eat at my table." 46. How did David react when he received news of Saul and Jonathan's death? Rejoiced, mourned and fasted, indifferent, or immediately claimed the throne? Mourned and fasted, 2 Samuel 1, 11-12. Then David and all the men with him took hold of their clothes and tore them. They mourned and wept and fasted till evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, and for the army of the Lord and the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. 47. What was the name of the Philistine city that David and his men fled to from Saul? Gath, Ashdod, Gaza, or Ekron? Gath, 1 Samuel 27, 2-3. So David and the 600 men with him left and went over to Achish, son of Maoch, king of Gath. 48. Who killed King Agag of the Amalekites after Saul spared him? Saul, David, Samuel, or Jonathan? Samuel, 1 Samuel 15:33. But Samuel said, "As your sword has made women childless, so will your mother be childless among women." And Samuel put Agag to death before the Lord at Gilgal. 49. Who was Ahimelech? King of Israel, shepherd boy, priest at Nob, or Philistine general? Priest at Nob, 1 Samuel 21:1. David went to Nob to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" 50. What did Saul's daughter Michal place in David's bed to help him escape from Saul? Statue and goat hair, pile of clothes and goat, servant pretending to be David, or feathers and pillows? Statue and goat hair. 1 Samuel 19:12-17. Michal let David down through a window and he fled and escaped. Then Michal took an idol and laid it on the bed, covering it with a garment and putting some goat hairs at the head. 51. Which of Jesse's sons did Samuel first think was the Lord's chosen king? David, Eliab, Abinadab, or Shammah? Eliab. 1 Samuel 16:6-7. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and thought, "Surely the Lord's anointed stands here before the Lord." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not consider his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." 52. How many stones did David take with him to fight Goliath? 1, 3, 5, or 7? Five. 1 Samuel 17:40. Then he took a staff in his hand, chose 5 smooth stones from the stream, put them in the pouch of his shepherd's bag, and with his sling in his hand approached the Philistine. 53. What instrument did David play for Saul to calm his spirit? Flute, lyre, drums, or trumpet? Lyre. 1 Samuel 16:23. Whenever the Spirit from God came on Saul, David would take up his lyre and play. Then relief would come to Saul. He would feel better and the evil spirit would leave him. 54. Why were the Israelites afraid of Goliath? Due to his reputation as a relentless warrior, great strength, he's a giant, or all of the above? All of the above. 1 Samuel 17:11. On hearing the Philistines' words, Saul and all the Israelites were dismayed and terrified. 55. How many sons did Jesse, David's father, have? 7, 8, 9, or 6? Eight. 1 Samuel 16:10-11. Jesse had 7 of his sons pass before Samuel, but Samuel said to him, "The Lord has not chosen these." So he asked Jesse, Are these all the sons you have?" "They are still the youngest," Jesse answered. "He is tending the sheep," Samuel said. "Send for him. We will not sit down until he arrives." 56. When David fled from Saul, which priest did he go to? Zadok, Bethsaliada, Ahimelech, or Abiathar? Ahimelech. 1 Samuel 21:1. David went to Nob, to Ahimelech the priest. Ahimelech trembled when he met him and asked, "Why are you alone? Why is no one with you?" 57. Who cut off the corner of Saul's robe in a cave? Abner, Ahimelech, David, or Joab? David. 1 Samuel 24:4-5. Then David crept up unnoticed and cut off a corner of Saul's robe. 58. Who was the commander of Saul's army? Abner, Amasa, Joab, or Ahimelech? Abner. 1 Samuel 14:50. The name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, daughter of Ahimaaz, and the name of the commander of his army was Abner, son of Ner, Saul's uncle. 59. Where did Saul go to consult the witch that conjured up the spirit of Samuel? Gilgal, Endor, Ramah, or Bethlehem? Endor. 1 Samuel 28:7. Saul then said to his attendants, "Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her." "There is one in Endor," they said. 60. What did David pretend to be in order to escape Achish, the king of Gath? Merchant, prophet, insane, or beggar? Insane. 1 Samuel 21:13-15. So he pretended to be insane in their presence, and while he was in their hands, he acted like a madman, making marks on the doors of the gate and letting saliva run down his beard. Achish said to his servants, "Look at the man. He is insane. Why bring him to me? Am I short of a madman that you have to bring this fellow here to carry on like this in front of me? Must this man come into my house?" Round 3. Short answer. Each question is worth 3 points. 61. Who was the mother of Samuel? Hannah, 1 Samuel 1:20, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, "I asked the Lord for him." 62. What was the name of Samuel's father? Elkanah, 1 Samuel 1:1. There was a man named Elkanah who lived in Ramah in the region of Zuph in the hill country of Ephraim. 63. Where did Hannah pray to God for a child? Shiloh, 1 Samuel 1:9. Once after a sacrificial meal at Shiloh, Hannah got up and went to pray. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance of the tabernacle. 64. Who was the priest who accused Hannah of being drunk when she was praying? Eli, 1 Samuel 1:12-14. As she was praying to the Lord, Eli watched her, seeing her lips moving but hearing no sound. He thought she had been drinking. "Must you come here drunk?" he demanded. 65. What did Hannah promise to do if God granted her a son? Dedicate him to the Lord's service for his entire life. 1 Samuel 1:11. And she made this vow, "O Lord of heaven's armies, if you will look upon my sorrow and answer my prayer and give me a son, then I will give him back to you. He will be yours for his entire lifetime, and as a sign that he has been dedicated to the Lord, his hair will never be cut." 66. What did Samuel hear when he was called by God during the night? Samuel, Samuel. 1 Samuel 3:4. Then the Lord called out to Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." 67. Who was the prophet who foretold the birth of Samuel? Samuel. 1 Samuel 2:35. Then I will raise up a faithful priest who will serve me and do what I desire. I will establish his family, and they will be priests to my anointed kings forever. 68. What was the name of the high priest who trained Samuel in the service of the Lord? Eli. 1 Samuel 3:1. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel served the Lord by assisting Eli. Now in those days, messaging from the Lord were very rare, and visions were quite uncommon. 69. What did the young Samuel think when he heard God calling him during the night? He thought it was Eli calling him. 1 Samuel 3:4-5. The Lord called out to Samuel again. Samuel got up and went to Eli. "Here I am. Did you call me?" "I didn't call you," Eli replied. "Go back to bed." So he did. 70. Who were the sons of Eli who were priests but were described as wicked? Hophni and Phinehas. 1 Samuel 2:12. Now the sons of Eli were scoundrels who had no respect for the Lord. 71. What happened to the Philistines' idol Dagon when the Ark of the Covenant was placed in its temple? It fell face down before the ark and was broken. 1 Samuel 5, 3-4. But when the people of Ashdod went to see it the next morning, Dagon had fallen with his face to the ground in front of the Lord's ark. So they took Dagon and put him in his place again. But the next morning the same thing happened. Dagon had fallen face down before the ark of the Lord again. 72. Who was the first king anointed by Samuel? Saul. 1 Samuel 9:17. I am the one the Lord sent to anoint you as king over his people, Israel. So listen to me and do what the Lord tells you. 73. What did Saul lose before the battle against the Philistines at Gilgal because he disobeyed God's command? His kingdom. 1 Samuel 13:14. But now your kingdom must end, for the Lord has sought out a man after his own heart. The Lord has already appointed him to be the leader of his people because you have not kept the Lord's command. 74. What was the name of the giant Philistine warrior whom David defeated with a sling and a stone? Goliath. 1 Samuel 17:50. So David tramped over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. 75. Who was David's closest friend, the son of Saul? Jonathan. 1 Samuel 18:1. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. 76. Who was the wife of David, whom he married after defeating Goliath? Michal. 1 Samuel 18:27. When David and his men returned to Saul's palace, Michal, Saul's daughter, came out to meet them. She said in disgust, "How the king of Israel has distinguished himself today, exposing himself to the servant girls like any vulgar person might do." 77. Who warned David about Saul's intentions to kill him? Jonathan. 1 Samuel 19:2. But Jonathan, Saul's son, was very fond of David and came to David in Gibeah to tell him goodbye. 78. Where did David flee to escape from Saul's pursuit? Gath. 1 Samuel 21:10. So David escaped from Saul and went to King Achish of Gath. 79. Who spared Saul's life when he had the chance to kill him? David. 1 Samuel 24:10-11. This very day you can see with your own eyes it isn't true, for the Lord placed you at mercy back there in the cave. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I spared you, for I said, I'll never harm the king, he is the Lord's anointed one. 80. What was the city where David was anointed as king of Judah? Hebron. 1 Samuel 31:1. Now the Philistines attacked Israel, and the men of Israel fled before them. Many were slaughtered on the slopes of Mount Gilboa. And then that's all the questions we have for today. So remember, put your score down below, then share it with your friends and family to compare your scores. And we'll see you in the next one.